back in Ridge Runner Nation. Welcome back to another episode of Ridge Runners Live. Tonight, we are joined by the 2021 champion of the Mohican 100 and one of the best 100-mile ultramarathon runners in the entire country, coming to us from the Buckeye State. Ladies and gentlemen, Arlen Glick, how's it going, man?
It's going great. I am so glad to be here.
We're so stoked to have you. Obviously, it was fun to run with you a little bit, and I mean a little bit this past weekend at the race. For those of you that don't know, my name is Wesley Hart, and holding down the fort with me tonight is the sixth man of the nation, Cam Wrench. What's up, dude?
Things are up. How you doing tonight, Wesley?
We're going to get Cam going because this story is going to be awesome. I mean, this is going to be a fun show. Obviously, Arlen's a three-time guest now, and he's been a professional on the show every single time he's come on. So some of the best stories come out of an Arlen Glick show, and I know Ridge Runner Nation is super excited for this one. As always, you can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Strava, join our Strava club as well. You know, there's some incredible runners on there like Arlen Glick himself. You can see what he's up to. Arlen, like we said before, this is your third go-round on this show, so you know the drill. Let's start off by having you giving us your deep dive of the Mohican 100.
Okay. Well, first, I better start out with saying the only reason I agreed to coming on the show this time, because fish stink after 3 days, and I think guests do too. And so this is kind of the third time. The only reason I agreed to come on the show tonight was because I just couldn't wait to beat up on Wesley for his DNF. So those of you who don't know, yes, Wesley was out there Saturday, and I'm gonna tear him apart a little bit. We got to find out exactly what went wrong. I know there were a couple big factors right off the bat. I'll just answer a couple questions for him. I know the humidity really took a toll on him. I know that was a big thing. And also the climbs are a little steep. Them tall residents, I know they don't, the ups were just a little steep. And he flew in like he didn't have any time to acclimate either. He flew in like the night before. And the altitude sickness, I think, is what really got to him late in the race. But anyway, we'll let him see if he can redeem himself after that.
Well, hey, I mean, I appreciate you kind of diving into that. There's a lot of factors that obviously come into a race like that. But the one that actually kind of threw me off my game was, getting lapped by you when I was my third loop. You were on your fourth loop and actually pressed hard for 4 straight hours trying to catch up to you. And I just couldn't do it. So that was my big thing. I just couldn't press on. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I couldn't wait to say that. Like I've been looking forward to this ever since I caught him on the third loop or fourth or whatever. I lose count after a while. But yeah, as Wesley said, the 2021 Mohican race was definitely my A race for at least the first half of this year. Ever since 2019 when I was there, and kind of coming on the scene, it was my first trail 100-miler. I kind of had my eye on that Michael Owen course record. So yeah, that's kind of what brought me back. I wondered if it could be beaten. And anyway, so yeah, I had a great time out there Saturday. We'll dive into it some more. I don't know if Wesley has a direction he wants to go with this at this point, but
yeah, so let's start off with your training. Obviously, going into a race like this, you were kind of totally locked in. In the prediction video that you sent us, you said you're running 120 to 130 a week. And, I kind of made fun of that, saying it's minutes and not miles, which is a lot of fun. But, kind of dive into what those miles actually looked like for you. What were you doing training-wise? I kind of mentioned you were doing the course a little bit. Was that intentional to kind of get out there to kind of do the course at a certain pace? Or what was your training like going into this race?
Yes. So my training, I'll start off kind of back end of March. I ran the Umstead 100. So that was kind of my training block ever since that. I built up my base mileage pretty quick. But I had a nice block. I had one down week in the middle, and then I dove right into training very specifically for Mohican. yeah, I was doing a good amount of running. I tried to get down to Mohican at least once a week, and do a nice long, usually at least between 25 and anyway, up to maybe 40, 48, something like that was my top for a long run. Yeah, just a lot on the trail. And yeah, I did most of it at what felt like 100-mile effort, just around a 140 heart rate, just nice and easy. Where I felt like that would be close to 100-mile effort. My pace was a little quicker than what I thought I could run 100 miles down there at during my training runs. But anyhow, on race day, it ended up running about the same pace, which was way faster than I thought possible. But anyway, that we'll get to that later on in the show. But yeah, so my training went really well. Yeah, I typically top out somewhere between 100 and 110 miles a week. That's not minutes. And yeah, so I hit some 120 to 130. My crazy Garmin, it always shorts me whenever I run on trails, so it's a little hard to keep track. But yeah, between 120 and 130 for I think 3 weeks straight before my taper. Went into my taper. I felt very fresh going into my taper. I was very surprised how well I held up to the new mark I hit with my training block. But yeah, I felt really fresh going into it. So yeah, that's kind of how the training went very, very well, very well.
And so you say you were out there on the Mohican course running at what felt like 100-mile effort to you. Was that something you had to calibrate over all these other 100-milers you ran, or going into your first attempt at Mohican, were you feeling kind of the same on long training runs you were doing? How did you kind of find that effort? Can you let us know?
Well, I kind of have a rough idea when I wear my heart rate monitor, my chest strap heart rate monitor. The one in my watch is for the birds. But if I get it around 140, 145 beats a minute, that usually is around 100-mile effort. In 2019, I was not dialed at all. I don't think I did one training run down at the park for that race. That was just kind of winging it. I didn't know what I was doing back then. But yeah, so I definitely honed it in a lot more. And I was going more during my training runs. I was going more off of just perceived effort level, just trying to keep it nice and easy, trying to walk the really steep ups, run all the flats and downs. So yeah, more by feel than anything, probably.
Okay, and that comment you made about the wrist-based heart rate being for the birds, I remember having to explain that to Wesley because he thought that he was going to have a heart attack and die because his watch was telling me he had like a 210 heart rate out there one time on a long training run. Coach Owen took a look at that and he was like, "You should go to the hospital, Wesley." Got a chest strap and he was like, "Everything's fine now." So definitely advise everybody listening to this right now, if you've got a wrist-based heart rate, like don't listen to that. Those are not accurate.
It's about as much of a joke as those what do you call it? The footlet chip timing things they made us wear out there. Like, dude, I hope Brian Poland's listening because I want to give him some hash about that. I mean, dude, like, come out of the Stone Age. Let's put the chip in the bib number for once, man. I mean, those things can tear a guy up. I saw what people were posting on Strava, pictures of their ankles, and it's not. I know mine. That was the worst. The worst thing I suffered post race was the effects of that crazy band we had to wear around our ankle. But anyhow, just a side note.
Last time you came out here, you're like, Super Bowl Trail Championships, that's a Brian Poland race. You're like, why isn't it an ultra sign up? And now you're out here, bashing the bands. Brian's an awesome guy. His time.
Yeah, well,
incredible.
Yeah, everybody knows we love him, so I can say whatever I want. But yeah.
One of Bridgewater Nation's finest. Cam, I think you had another question here. Yeah, I get a couple more about your training block heading into this, Arlen, just because I'm always interested in what other people are doing when I can maybe fold into my own training, and then just, what other people aren't paying attention to is also just as important for me. And, I follow you on Strava, but I don't ever it doesn't seem like you're ever doing concentrated speed work. You do hills and you do faster runs, but you're never on the track. You never have a post that's like, today was 10 times 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, you know? Is there a reason for that?
Probably because I don't like those workouts, is the main thing. Yeah, I probably should, but for some reason, when I do a really dialed in workout where I know exactly what I'm going to do, I feel the pressure of having to execute that perfectly. And so I would rather just go out and run up and down a hill, like 30 times. But whatever, I'm sure there's some benefits of doing a very specific workout. But yeah, I would like to incorporate some more specific speed workouts in, but I usually have to be feeling really healthy to do a very dialed in workout. But yeah, I probably should work on that more. And sometimes I do, but my speed workouts are more like 10 miles at tempo pace, or a 3x2 mile, a 3x3 mile at like half marathon pace or something like that. So I tend to do a little longer duration of repeats instead of short ones. Except my hills are a little more on the short side. So.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of the last question on this sort of topic is, are you doing anything other than run training? I know you get out on the bike every now and then, but you know, do you have like any pre-run activation drills you do? You got the Normatec boots on right now. What does that look like for you?
Well, are we talking about training or recovery here? If you're talking about training, yes, I do a very minimal amount of PT work. My therapist is really good at working with me and giving me the least amount. She assigns me the least amount possible to get me there on race day. But yeah, I do a small amount. Like you mentioned, I do some biking. But yeah, a pretty small amount, but a couple times a week. Yeah, I do some core workouts, some other things, but yeah, I don't post that. So anyway, yeah, I'm doing it just a little bit.
All right, sounds good. I gotta ask because I'd be so freaked out if you're putting in 120-mile weeks the speeds you do and never getting on the foam roller doing it or anything like that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start and dive into the race. And one really interesting thing you mentioned is, you know, you feel pressure when you want to do like a quality workout, like especially with shorter intervals to really hit those times. How did you feel going into this Mohican, knowing, you know, like, well, hey, I want to go after this Michael Owen course record, and you know, nobody didn't know who Arlen Glick was going into this year's Mohican. You know, Wesley's prediction video aside, right? You were the name to beat out there. How did that sort of play into your mindset when you started the race?
People kept asking me what my goals are for the race, and they knew I was, you know, really in shape. They saw my training. They really knew I was. They knew I was down there almost every weekend training. Things were looking very dialed for the race, but I have to say I err on being underconfident, I'm sure, rather than overconfident. But I did feel much more confident than usual about the race. I got a lot of heat training in. I felt very ready, but there's always that unknown with the weather. And like Mohican, we've had anywhere from 95 down to 2019. It was 72, a high of 72 degrees. So I kept telling people, if the weather's really nice, I'm going to take a stab at the course record. That was kind of my thing. Somebody asked me the morning of the race, you know, what are you going to do today? And I'm like, well, I'm not in shape for no reason. Like I definitely put the work in, and I'm ready to go after it. I wasn't, I didn't think there was any way possible of going low 15s, but like, you know, I was pretty confident I could get the course record at the morning of the race. But yeah.
So you show up at this race start with nothing. By the way, you show up. I find you. You're at the starting line. I've never seen this at a 100-mile race before. No handheld, no like bladder, no chest thing. No waist belt even. I don't think you had nothing on you. What was your plan with that? Is that the biggest confidence move you could ever do at a 100-mile race, or is that something you took maybe from like a tunnel hill that you just bring into a race like Mohican?
Yeah. So if you've watched me race before, you know that that I rely on my crew pretty heavy. So yeah, I went into that with nothing. I was planning to pick up a handheld at the first aid station, which I did, and just pretty much switched out handhelds most of the day with my crew. They're great. They give me anything I need. We'll get into some funny details, crewing details at some point with some bizarre nutrition things that happen. But anyway, yeah. I if you've watched me run before, I run light. I had planned on this being my first race where I was going to wear a hydration pack, and it was going to be for the longer section where there's not crew access on the back half of the course, and I was going to do that on the third and fourth loop. But yeah, mid race, I ditched that plan. The handheld was just working out too well for me, so I ditched that plan. But yeah, I pack super light. I try to spend as little time at aid stations as I can, but yet not get out of there without getting something I need. So yeah.
And so going into it with this very sort of like bare bones and minimalist attitude, were you planning on just eating off the tables on the back half of the course then, or what was your plan sort of like with your crew? Did you have very specific things you wanted nutrition wise at each aid station, or take us through that a little?
Yeah, so I was planning to eat some during the beginning, which I eat very little if you know me, during a race. So I think I ate into 40 miles, I think was the last I ate any solid foods. Yes, I planned on just coming into an aid station and hoping there's not a line there. And fortunately, it was very nice. I got in there and they were able to give me what I needed in very minimal time, fill my water bottle. Sometimes I would drink a couple of the cups they had poured there while they're filling my water bottle. Fortunately, some of the guys at the aid station knew me, and they knew kind of my plan from 2019. They knew what I wanted when I got there, and so they were able to help me out. But yeah, so going into it, I told my crew what I usually do, switch out between different products. If I drink the same thing too long, I get sick. So most of my calories are in liquid form. So Gatorade, I even tried out Body Armor this time. I Tailwind, Heed, you name it, I drink it. What was so bizarre that happened that morning, it's a 5 a.m. start, and I've got everything, just ready to roll the night before. I had the car all packed. I had all my nutrition, but we filled my water jugs up the morning of the race at like 3 a.m. because it starts at 5. And we have well water at our house, and we filled the jugs, and apparently our water softener was going through its cycle where it mixes salt and cleans out the filter when we filled our jugs. So I get to the race and I start running and I start drinking, and I'm thinking, and I told myself, I said, man, this Tailwind is a lot saltier than I remember it from in the past. And I was like, man, okay, I can't, this is nasty. But I'm like, okay, maybe it's just my head, I'll drink it. And I'm thinking I'll get to something else later on. And the next time, I knew they were switching it out, but the next thing I drank, I was like, man, that's salty too. Like these drinks must have a lot more salt than I remember. And it was a really nasty tasting. And and then I got to some Gatorade, and I'm like, this is the real deal. So I drank that, and I'm like, that was good. And then the Body Armor, and man, that just went down so nice. Finally, I don't know, it was probably into the second loop somewhere. I finally told my sister, I said, just quit mixing stuff up. Just give me the stuff that that's already mixed up, like Gatorade and body armor. I said, that other stuff, I just can't take the taste. And so they did that. Well, I didn't know what happened. Then like at 80 or 90 miles into it, they told me, Arlen, or maybe it was more like 60 miles, I forget. But they're like, Arlen, there was salt in the water. Do you want us to go back to plan A? What, at that point, I was too delirious to know what they meant by salt in the water. And I'm like, no, this is working fine. So it was just so bizarre. But imagine if I had kept going with the salt consumption at like 10 times the normal amount, what that would have, I mean, yeah, it actually could have got dangerous towards the end probably. But anyhow, it's just a hilarious thing that happened. And anyhow, I guess that's, you learn, to be flexible and not to stick to your plan too hard, because you never know when something like that might happen. But anyway,
no worries about, Arlen Glick doesn't have to take salt tabs. He just gets the salt in his water and tail and all that stuff. It's a great technique out there. One thing I'm kind of curious about is, take us through the early miles of the race now. Obviously the gun goes off, you're starting, there's a lot of people. The race started out hot and there was a group of people with you. Take us through like the first loop and just dive into it.
Yeah, well, if you watch the predictions, Wesley mentioned Jeffrey Zinger. He is a stud from Indiana, and I was in contact with him, and we had kind of planned on going out together. I was hoping that we could run at least one loop together. So we took off, and I went through the campground super easy, and we just broke away. Like Jeffrey and I were by ourselves, and we could see some headlights back there. And I'm like, boy, nobody, they must not like our company or whatever. But we were going nice and easy. And he was running really well, running right with me. I just tried to really focus on making sure I didn't push on any of the ups. That's the main thing that I was concerned about. If I ran a little hard on the downs, I was going to be okay with that. The main thing was that I didn't burn up on the ups. So went through the first aid station within a minute of what I was hoping. I think it was like 32 something when we went across the mat. Then went on to Fire Tower. At that point, I picked up my water bottle, drank that on the way to Fire Tower. Got to Fire Tower, and anyway, I ended up needing my headlight all the way to Fire Tower, which was surprising. I was planning on getting rid of it sooner than that. But yeah, we got to Fire Tower, and then took off, and I wanted to go super light and easy from Fire Tower to the dam there, because I knew we would be going through that super technical area up that creek with the root wall. I looked forward to that. I was just loving that, except there's some what do you call it, stingweed or whatever up in there. It always gets me. And anyhow, it kind of made me itchy after that. But anyhow, it's worth it for the view. But yeah, climbed up the root wall, and then I went across the bridge or went to the bridge. And the weirdest thing, the flags went across the bridge the way the course goes, but there was a sign right there pointing the opposite direction. And I was like, what is this here for? And I was like really confused. Like, do I yank it out and carry it with me, or do I like toss it aside, or do I just keep going? I'm like, this is going to really seriously screw somebody up. But I was just confused and didn't know what to do. And then fortunately, Jeffrey came. He was a little behind me right at that point, and he picked it up and threw it on the ground. And then he told the photographers, because they were on the way, just to kind of watch out when people come up through here, make sure they go the right way. But yeah, during those, I was planning to run at least 25 with Jeffrey, but he got behind at an aid station. Then he kind of caught up, but never really got side by side with me again. I was hoping to have company, but really I only had company for about 10, maybe not even 10 miles of the course. And from there out, it was just trying to keep it really easy, keep it calm, not get worked up about anything, just try to, hone it in. So yeah, then on the second half of the course, kind of the same. from the dam out, and I was hitting my splits a little quick. I think I wanted to get to the dam in about 2 hours and 4 minutes, and I believe I hit it in 2:02, which is not way out there. It was definitely within the margin of error. Yeah, I was hoping for around a 4:05 for a first loop, and I ended up doing it in 4:01, which I was happy with that. That was within. It was, yeah, definitely as quick as I wanted. Every bit as quick as I wanted to. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the race. That's kind of how things panned out for the first loop.
So take us through the second loop now. Obviously, you come back through the campground and you get to see your crew again. What was it like kind of starting loop 2, knowing that you did have a lead and you were just going to continue pressing on?
Yeah, I didn't know at that point how far back Jeffrey was or how the other guys were doing, and I didn't really get tabs until afterwards. But the pressure always gets on a little more once I start. When I go through the campground and hit that timing mat, and I know that Michael Owen is out in Utah or wherever he is, and he's probably watching my splits, and he's watching this idiot that ran out way too fast. And, things like that, I'm just kind of conscious of. And so going into the second loop, I'm like, I just want to keep the same effort, but if I'm like 10 minutes slower, that'll be like perfect, is kind of what I was thinking. So I ran up to Gorge Overlook, and I think I hit and since it was 4:01, it was like really easy to keep track of my splits. Like, all day I was hitting like right on the even hour. Like, I hit Hickory Ridge in 3 hours and like 30 seconds. And then I hit it in like 7 hours and 30 seconds. So things were just working out perfect for easy head work all day. But yeah, I hit Gorge Overlook, and I think it was within a minute or two of my first loop. And I'm thinking, okay, that's reasonable. I had a little bit of a stop there. In the campground. So I'm thinking that's pretty good. And then I hit Fire Tower, and it was like a minute or so slow. But then I hit the dam, and it was actually like a couple minutes quick. I think I hit it in like 2 hours flat on the second loop. And so I'm thinking, man, this is going really well. Like, I was thinking I think that's around 40 miles. And I was thinking, man, this is like way too fast, but like, at least I'm not slacking off yet. I'm 40 miles. So I was super happy at that point. Ate the last of the solids. I was eating I tried some new stuff. I had a few apples, and, peach season's in. So I love, peaches are my favorite fruit. So I had my sister cut
bananas. You did
yeah,
all about the bananas. So you're not even mixing up the fruits on us.
I did that. And you know what? I don't like bananas as much as I did a year ago. I don't. Big warning to any ultra runners coming into the sport. If you like something really good, don't eat a ton of it during an ultra. You might never like it again. Like, that's just a word of caution. But yeah, I was in the mood for peaches and apples this time. So I ate a bunch of peaches and apples. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm at 40 miles. It's time to go with liquids. I was pretty much decided that, enough monkeying around. Let's get down to business. So ran, yeah, and I would say probably that one of the lowest points on the race would have been between Covered Bridge and Hickory Ridge on the second loop, and I'm thinking that's between 40 and 47 miles or so. Anyhow, I was going through there, and it was soon after I went off food. It would have been after I ate the last of my solids, and I was still consuming some liquids, calories in liquid, but hit kind of a low spot in there. All of a sudden, I noticed I was breathing really hard up the hills. The legs felt really like jelly, and I'm like, oh no, that sick feeling in your stomach when you think you're king on the mountain. And like, you think, oh no, did I just run out way too fast like everybody does, like I've done so many times? Did I just like ruin my race? And I'm thinking, Arlen, you're so stupid. This is, you're going to make a fool of yourself running like this. But I tried to troubleshoot and be like, is there something I can do about it? Because I think that's an important thing is in ultras, if there's something you can do about it, then do it. And if not, then just toughen up and get through it. And so I had a gel with me and it had caffeine in it. And I'm like, I haven't had any caffeine yet. Let's pop this gel in and just see if that makes me a little sharper. And that definitely took the edge off of it. I immediately got the legs started feeling fresher, my breathing come under control. And so I'm like, okay, I must have just been a little low in sugar right there. And so at Hickory Ridge, I'm like, okay, I need to switch something up and do something different so I don't get sucked back into that pain cave. And so I got there and I got some Coke. And if I always wait till like 90 miles and then I start chugging Coke down, and that'll get me out of anything. And sure enough, that was the answer. And I felt so amazing from Hickory Ridge down to the start line. It like on the second loop, I just felt amazing. And so I'm like, okay, I've never drank Coke that early in a race, but you know what? It's never too late for a good idea. So and that really helped me throughout the day. I continued to drink Coke at almost every aid station, and it was exactly what I needed. I mean, that stuff would pull me out of anything. But yeah, I come down from Hickory Ridge and I'm looking at my watch and trying to calculate the time because, as you know, my watch is for the birds. I can't tell my pace for trying. It's basically gives me time of day. When I'm on trails, I know what time of day it is, which is very helpful. Okay. But yeah, coming to the campground and I'm like, whoa, good night. This, like I think it was a 3:59 second loop, which was just a snip quicker than my first. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I ran the first 54 and a half or so miles in like 8 hours and 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, that was a little quick. And I kind of joked with my crew, like, well, this is a little quicker than planned, but at least I'm having fun, kind of joking around, like, watch me crash now. And so there was a little bit of like determination going into the third loop. I was like, I don't want to ruin this race, but like, I was more determined to like just keep after my pace. And I forget exactly what my splits were on the third loop going up to Gorge and to Fire Tower, but I knew they were within reason. They were within a couple minutes. I knew I was still moving well. But it wasn't until I hit like Hickory Ridge on the third loop that I started thinking, this is absolutely insane. Like I got to Hickory Ridge and I think it was like 7 hours. Well, that would have been 7 hours on the second loop. I forget what it was. But I remember getting to that campground and being, or I should say the start line area on the end of the third loop. And it was like 11:40. And I was like, that's just insane. Like I ran a 3-hour, 40-minute loop. And I was like, whoa, this is insane. Like I've got to hang on to this. Like if I crash and burn, that's okay. But I'm going to hang on as long as I can. So anyway, that's kind of how the first 77 miles went. At that point, I had my brother pacing me from Fire Tower to back to the start, the state park there. From that would have been like 65-ish to 77 or whatever those miles are. And at that point, I picked up Derek Miller, my pacer. He was going to be pacing me from 77 all the way to 100. But yeah, that was kind of the third loop. It went very smooth, a lot faster than what I thought was possible. But I gained a lot of confidence going into the fourth loop. I was like, okay, if I haven't crashed yet, like even if I have a rough spell, this is insane how fast this is. I didn't even want to do the figures, but I was like, this this is insane, but it's too late to change my strategy now. But yeah, so I went into the fourth loop and I was just trying to run a pretty good effort. I think I was running a few minutes slower on the fourth loop. I think I wound up with a 3:42, but I believe that loop is about a half mile shorter, so approximately 7 minutes slower, which is very much, within the margin of error. But yeah, I definitely started feeling it in the last loop. I can remember the ups just getting harder and harder, and like I could do the downs pretty much all day. Like I could run fast. It didn't matter if they were technical, muddy. Like I could really handle the downs well, but the ups just got harder and harder. And I mean, yeah, into that fourth loop, it hurt so bad, but like it felt so good at the same time. Like it was amazing, because that, how it is, there's always this fine line of, going out too hard and burning up, or else leaving too much in the bank, and you get to the finish line and you don't feel like you left it all out there. But yeah, it felt really good to know that I had run the first 75 miles pretty much a consistent pace the whole way through. And then when it started burning on the last one, I was like, that's a success, because I knew this pain was like, it was an indication that I had run a perfect race. Like I had left it all out there. And now I was just grinding for all I was worth, trying to get the last out of myself. So yeah, that's kind of how most of the race went. That's not, the final miles got a little crazy. They got kind of rough, but I mean, yeah, I was having a good time the whole way.
So that's kind of, an awesome story, obviously, to hear your deep dive there about the race. It's kind of interesting to hear that your fourth loop was really slow at like a 3:42 or whatever it is for the fourth loop there. And honestly, you must have been walking the whole thing. You're just not a good runner out there, right? Why didn't you finish strong, man? Come on, 7 minutes slower. What are you doing out there? I mean,
well, you could,
unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you could say whatever you want. I was super happy with it, but like, yeah, it was getting tough. I can remember the final climb up that gravel road right just before the campground. Yeah, Wesley, you probably know what I'm talking about. It has that gradual left-hand turn, and I can remember being so determined to run the whole way, but like it hurt so bad. But my struggle was when I would walk a section, that getting going again was so hard. So I found I was better on the ups to just run really slow rather than breaking into a walk, because when I would come out of a walk, it was really hard. But yeah, it was great.
But I mean, yeah, I couldn't even imagine that section there on the fourth loop, because I didn't make it that far. But it's kind of cool to hear that you talk about that to your fullest experience. Cam, I think you had a couple questions here for us.
Yeah, we got a couple questions from the live chat tonight. Very first one is going to be from Alex Jackson. He was out there. He helped get Wesley out of the chair and started on that fateful third loop that he didn't finish, or excuse me, the fateful fourth loop he didn't finish. Let's give him the credit he's due. But Alex wants to know, what was the longest aid station stop that you had to take, Arlen?
I didn't time it, but I would definitely say under 2 minutes. Yeah, I would say 2 minutes would have been the most. I never changed my shoes. I never had any major stops. So they were all very, very minimal. But yeah.
And did you go into the race planning to not take any major stops, or did that just sort of come up like as the day went on? Were you just like, I'm going to just take each aid station as I need to?
Yeah, I definitely don't plan for a long stop, but if you've heard my story about the canal corridor, nature calls, and sometimes there's those long stops that turn into, and they can wreck your race. Because sometimes for me, after a long stop, it is so hard to get going again. But yeah, I don't plan for a long stop, but I mean, if nature calls or something happens, sometimes you just have to do you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. And that was, I believe, Ridge Runners Live episode 26 or 19. Those were your two previous shows. If you're listening and you want to hear that story, it's definitely worth it to go back to check those ones out. But our next question from the chat, this one here is from Michael Gamp, also a great friend of the show. He says, great run, Arlen. How key was that Memorial Day training run with Wesley to your success on race day?
That was that the day I went out and ran 40, the double mile? Yeah, I think that was probably the day I went out and did 48 miles.
Yeah, I saved you at the covered bridge.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because Wesley, according to his story, he carried me out from the covered bridge, which I thought was just pretty good.
I cut back to the campground to go get help, because I didn't want to carry you the whole way. But then by the time, I did that, you just kind of ran the entire second loop backwards. So I just didn't have time. So glad you made it out. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was a little confused because, you said you carried me out, but apparently you paused my watch when you carried me out, because I noticed on my map there wasn't tracks down through the creek bottom there. I thought that was pretty funny. If anyone was paying attention to Strava that weekend, they couldn't verify Wesley's story. How key was that? It was great. In fact, we ran into Mike out there that weekend, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We shared some miles with Michael as well that weekend. So there were a bunch of people out there at Mohican, and which is always awesome to see.
Yeah, that weekend was great. I got my longest run in. So that was very key. But I would say it was a fail, all in all. I mean, we had a high of like 48 that day, which is pretty much not even training. I mean, if you're running in 48, you're not even really running anyway. So I would say it was not key at all to my success.
Our other producer, JD3, right now is probably just turning over wherever he is, because he hates like running in the cold. So he definitely likes the heat when the weather warms up himself. But Arlen, it's awesome to kind of hear your Mohican story. Kind of take us through what it was like, coming across that finish line and knowing that you've run the second fastest time in course history. Let's disregard the old course that was on the dirt roads back in the day or to the gravel roads. It's just totally different than the course it is today. You shattered the modern course record, absolutely blew it out of the water. What was that moment like for you?
It was I didn't know what it would be like to set that course record. But in the moment, there was so much more satisfaction than what I had thought there would be. When you go out there with 1651 in your head and you come away with a 1522, there is just like, yeah, the amount of satisfaction running under Route 3, going under the bridge, it's undescribable. Just like coming through the finish line with the sun still up, it's still nice and hot, the sun shining, knowing that no one has ever finished during daylight hours on that course. It was indescribable. All the feelings that I had coming through that finish line and chatting with folks afterwards.
What was the post-race party like? Obviously, the day after, you got a nice little sleep there. What was that moment like going up on that podium there?
Oh, that was great. Between the finish and the podium, there was a lot that happened. It was really cool. The race director come around a good bit after I finished, and he's like, "Dude, you're the one that just did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, the cameraman called me and said we had a finisher," and his response was, "That's impossible. Like, there's no way." So he went straight to the timing tent there to verify, like, did this guy actually run the course? And so that was like a really special moment, just to chat with him for a bit and just to watch his jaw drop. That was probably one of the most special parts of it. But yeah, I went home, and got a shower, went to bed. And actually my family was planning to do a special song at church the next day. And I told them before, I'm like, we might have to do my part live on FaceTime if I'm still out on course. But anyway, it worked out fine. I was able to get a night's sleep, and yeah, I went to church the next day, and we sang a special song at church. And then I had to slip out after the message to get down to the awards ceremony. But yeah, it was so special being there the next day with Jacob and Gabe and all my friends, and watching Ron Ross come through the finish and like completing his 26th, I think, finish there at Mohican, which is just phenomenal. And yeah, I always enjoy getting there and watching all the people come in between 31 and 32 hours. It's just, yeah, it's just that's one of the most special things about that race is showing up the next day and just watching everybody and just chatting with people. And there's so many friends I have out there. And yeah, going up on the podium, that was great. We had to have a couple pinch hitters there for the podium, which I thought was pretty cool. We kind of, I gotta confess, I'm kind of wrangled Kyle Will into standing up on the podium there, which he was not in favor of that, but we got him up there anyway, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, I was
always deserves to be up on a podium. I mean, come on, if there's a podium around, we got to get Kyle up on a podium. Everyone knows the rules in Return Nation. No, that's awesome, man. It's such an awesome story to hear. And, I'm super excited to kind of see what's next for you. Obviously, people are going to be super curious. And obviously, you've done some crazy fast times. You went 12:57 last year at Tunnel Hill for a second place finish there. And what's next for Arlen Glick?
I'm not. I haven't pulled the trigger on anything yet.
That's a lie.
I
2022. 2022.
We'll see how. No, I haven't. What I mean, I haven't decided for sure on anything for 2021 yet. Trust me, I will make something happen. There's no way I would make it to 2022 without racing. I think I'd go nuts. But yeah, I was talking to Gabe Rainwater afterwards, and he's like, dude, just take it easy. Like, you're doing awesome, but just take it easy. Like, don't overdo it. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I definitely want to be running when I'm 70 years old. So I want to take care of myself. But on the other hand, I mean, yeah, I ran this morning and I felt perfectly normal. Like I didn't even have a race Saturday. So looking ahead, I've kind of been wondering what it would be like to stack 200 milers really close together. And since I recovered so well, I'm toying around with Burning River, thinking about signing up. I think there's still a few spots left for that one. I probably better check it out before I talk about it. But possibly that one. Canal Corridor is definitely one that I would love to do. I have to make a decision on that one. A good friend of mine is getting married that day, and so I have to decide where my priorities are and make a decision on that. But that would definitely be my A race for the fall. If I jump in Burning River, that would definitely be an experiment, because that's just 5 weeks out. So it would be neat to see how well my body responds with a shorter recovery. I'm used to having at least 2 months before another race, but I'd like to just see what it feels like, how recovery goes after that, and just kind of do an experiment. But we'll see.
Well, I gotta commend you for feeling good today, because I ran 23 miles on the course, pacing Jamie Hanks. Saw you out there, Arlen, and the next day I felt like I got hit by a truck. I did one of those loops, so I really got to commend you for that. But also, if you want to hop into Burning River now, I know we got a suggestion from Ultra Dad in the chat. He wants to know if you've ever thought about Grindstone. Says there's 16 spots left. That could be quite a fall.
Oh, that race would be fun. That one, yeah, I would love to do that race, but I am, pretty serious about doing another flat and fast 100-miler this fall. Possibly see if I can't take a bite out of my PR. So fall is a good time to do a fast one. Rather, I love Mohican in the summertime because it's a good way to use up my summer training. But yeah, I like to get on a flat course in the fall, and that's getting pretty close to Canal Corridor. That course, what is it, 20,000 feet of vert? Dude, like I would love to do that one. But it's just a matter of time. I just can't do everything. But yeah, it's very appealing to me. That one is very appealing to me.
Last time you were on, you said that you would actually want to do a backyard ultra too at some point. So, I think eventually, we'll give you your fall this time. We got to check the boxes on Arlen. If he says he's going to do a backyard ultra at some point, you've only got 5 years or so, grindstone. Hey, I'd love to do it. We hope to see you there at some point. Let's follow up on some of these maybe.
Okay, we'll do it. Yeah, backyard ultra, old boy. No, it's bad sometimes that you have such a good memory, Wesley. But I remember things you said too about mocking the humidity in Ohio and the elevation and everything. So I mean, what goes around comes around. So what can I expect? I mean, but yeah, definitely the backyard ultra is still. I want to do one of those. I'm having too much fun at the 100-mile distance right now. But yeah, follow up. I mean, drag me out there if you have to.
We'll get you out there. A little peer pressure goes a long way in regeneration, that's for sure. One thing I'm curious about, there's a big race this weekend, the Western States 100. People might have heard about it. But when are we going to see Arlen Glick at the Western States 100? Seriously, we kind of think you're one of the best ultra runners in the 100-mile distance that have come on the scene in the past couple of years. And I think if you took your talents to state, got a golden ticket race maybe this February or whatnot, showed up next year, where do you think you would finish outside of first, second, third? I mean, come on, pick your spot here.
Oh boy, you're so good at trying to make athletes say stupid things, Wesley. I love it. Yeah, dude. Okay, so number one, I wouldn't take it for granted that I could get in if my life depended on it. My luck at drawing a ticket with less than 1% chance just doesn't look that great. Winning a golden ticket, honestly, Wesley, you've watched me race before, and I suck at anything shorter than 100 miles. If they would give a golden ticket away at a race that was 100 miles, I'd go do it tomorrow. But yeah, if I could get in, I'd do it. But yeah, I say if I get in, I'd do it. I haven't even tried yet, but I probably will. But hey, I mean, it's tough luck. If you can't win a golden ticket, you got to rely on luck, and it's tough to get in there. But yeah, that's
for sure.
fun.
Yeah, no,
this is a Black Canyon 100K. It's 100 of some sort. I think we can get you down there.
There's a lot of 100Ks that you can hop in. It'll just take off the M, add the K. It's the same thing. Minutes to miles, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, if I get any faster at the 100 miler, that my pace might be fast enough that I could run 100K at that pace, but I don't know. Sometimes I run pretty fast on the second half of my 100. So
no one says you have to stop after the 100K distance. You can just go 40 more miles at Black Canyon. So if you win the thing, you just keep going. You know what I mean?
Now that's an idea right there. Maybe we could just set it up and just, if I knew I had to run 100 miles, maybe I would just run a lot faster for the first 60. I don't know. There's some weird ideas out here.
That's probably the only way people can keep up with you anyways. For 60 miles, they're going out at 60-mile pace. You have to go out at a 100-mile pace. At least someone to run with.
Yeah, That sounds fun. Sign me up, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cam, I think you had a question here.
No, all I'm saying is you just give us the ultra sign up details, Arlen, and we'll set up a year for you next year. You can control your fall, like take some time, do whatever you want. We'll just let me and Wesley control 2022. We'll have a plan.
Oh, sure. Well, Cam, sure. Okay, now I'm forgetting. Was it you or Don that JD3 that said that Ultra Sign Up has your credit card information? I mean, if you if you want to use my name and everything and your credit card, like go to town, sign me up, dude. I'll do Bigfoot, Badwater 135, Tahoe 2, you name it, I'll do it. Like,
I think that was me talking about how it's real easy to make a mistake on ultra sign up because I don't have to go find my wallet. I'm almost tempted to say what is Bandera or what's the other 100K golden ticket race? What does that cost? It's like I won't pay for your flight out there, but the entry, like, that might almost be worth it.
Dude, there's enough people probably
$125.
watching this over the next couple of days. Everyone chips in $1. Dude, Arlen Glick is going to go to Bandera. Arlen Glick is going to win the Western States 100 next year, and it's going to be something to see.
Hey, let's do it. Maybe we can get some sponsors out of the deal. I mean, hey, a little tough talk here, and we'll be right in business.
For sure. We've done our quick questions with you, Arlen. You're a pro at this point, so we're not going to do our regular quick questions, but we do have some just some general ones we do want to ask you here before you get out of here. And if there's any other chat questions that people have, drop those in there now. This has been a fantastic show. As always, Arlen, it's a pleasure to sit down and talk to you here. One question I've got for you is where I should say, is your favorite place you've ever run?
My favorite place I've ever run in my life was Angel's Landing back in February. Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. That was just a thrill.
Out in Taw. There it is.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. I just put my foot in my that was a bad idea to make.
Hey, I appreciate you, Arlen. That was a setup. I just lobbed it up to you and you just hit a home run. You're the best. Absolutely appreciate you.
I know. I couldn't believe it, Arlen. I was going to say, Wesley and I were out there just like, 3-4 weeks ago out at Zion?
That's awesome. Kind of going off that same trend, who are some of your inspirations in the ultra running scene that you kind of look up to?
2019 I ran the JFK 50 miler and got to share a mile or two with Zach Bitter. And, he is definitely inspiring to me. So yeah, I love watching him go after it and just kill it. But yeah, I mean, also like some of the other guys that inspire me are just say Ronald Ross there, that the guys that finished the Mohican or something in 32 hours. Like, I think I was talking to Ron afterwards. I'm like, dude, I went home and got to sleep last night, but like, you guys so inspire me. I mean, you guys have been out there all day, all night, and half of the next day. And like, that's just inspiring to me. Like, who cares who wins? When you watch those guys come through the finish line that fought all night, or like in 2019, I was there and there was a lady that came through like 5 minutes after the cutoff time. And I'm like, that I can't imagine just the gut wrenching feeling that would be. But yeah, sometimes I get inspired by guys like Zach Better, but then I also get inspired by, the guys that are on the verge of timing out. Like, I think that's so cool that they go after something that's so hard for their level, that's so difficult, but yet they go after it anyway. So yeah, I think that's what's cool.
We absolutely love that answer. We got another quick question here. If you weren't an ultra runner, you need to do some other hobby, what would it be?
if I wasn't an ultra runner, well, I've had a few hobbies over the years. I've done a good amount of big game hunting out in the West, Wyoming, close to Wesley's area. There's a lot of things I would do. I like to take my nieces and nephews fishing every now and then. I'm kind of an outdoorsman. But yeah, since the whole running thing kind of took a hold of my life, I don't have as much time to do some of those other sports as I would like. Yeah.
Do you catch like with a fishing pole, or do you just like run through the water just catching the fish so fast?
Good question. Well, I will tell you a little outset. I was not planning on bringing this up, but one time I did catch a coyote with my bare hands. So I'll let you figure that one out. But no, I use a fishing pole.
Wow, you heard it here first. Arlen Glick, new course record holder, modern at Mohican, and just out there doing all kinds of awesome things. This has been a heck of a show so far. One final question here. Do you have any sponsors or anyone specifically that you want to say thank you to?
I don't have any sponsors, but yes, there's a lot of people that I definitely want to say thanks to. Definitely the the race director, everyone in charge, all the volunteers that helped out there. Yeah, they were great out there. And definitely my crew, my sisters, they if you've ever been at an aid station when I came through, I'm in and out in the blink of an eye. And yeah, the hats off to my crew. They're the best. And also my pacer, Derek Miller, and my brother for pacing me. They're such good encouragement. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on the show again for the third time, Arlen. It's between you and Sarah Beal. Like it's going to be quite the competition to see who ends 2021 going into 22 with the most Ridge Runners Live appearances. Because I can't imagine either of you will go the rest of this year without a win. But we're so happy to have you on. We were so stoked to see you out there on the course at Mohican as well. Anybody looking to sponsor this guy? Whoever can get him into Western States, because like I don't know if Jim Walmsley's ever running a 12:57. I want to see him go in there and blow the whole thing up. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us. As always, I was Cam Wrench. Your other host was Wesley Harton. You can find us anywhere you can find podcasts and subscribe to us here on YouTube. If you haven't yet, check out our No BS film as well and share it with any of the other ultra runners in your life. We're really proud of that one. And I think that's everything. Right, Wes?
Yeah, that's all we got. We'll see you guys next time. We do have a prediction video dropping tomorrow for the Western States 100, which is our first West Coast prediction video. Nick Voss is joining us on that one. So stay tuned for that. Noon Eastern Thursday. Tune into that. And Nick did snub one of the biggest runners on the scene, kind of like I do, but he did it. So it's not me this time. So tune in for that. It should be fun. Arlen, you were incredible. We'll see everyone next time.